take a look at attitudes in human relations. An attitude is a strong belief or feeling towards people, things, and situations. You have favorable or positive attitudes and unfavorable or negative attitudes about life, human relations, work, school, and everything else. Attitudes are not quick judgments we change easily, but you can change your attitudes. People interpret your attitudes by your behavior. Attitudes are developed primarily through experiences. As you developed from childhood to adulthood and interacted with parents, families, teachers, friends, employers, and managers. From all those people, you developed your attitudes. Douglas McGregor classified attitudes which he called assumptions as theory X and theory Y. Managers with theory X attitudes hold that employees dislike work and must be closely supervised to get them to do their work. Theory Y attitudes hold that employees like to work and do not need to be closely supervised in order to get the job done. Managers with dominant personalities often don't trust employees, thus, they have theory X attitudes and can be abusive. Over the years, research has shown that managers with theory Y attitudes tend to have employees with higher levels of job satisfaction than managers of theory X. However, managers with theory Y assumptions do not always have higher levels of productivity in their departments. Managers' attitudes and the way they treat their employees affect employees' job behavior and performance. Research has supported this theory called the Pygmalion effect. The Pygmalion effect states that supervisors' attitudes and expectations of employees and how they treat them largely determine their performance. Through the positive expectations of others, people increase their level of performance. Although others' attitudes can affect your behavior, human relations, and performance, you are responsible for your own actions. If you're stuck in an unpleasant situation that you can't change, having a poor, negative attitude will only make the situation more unpleasant. You can choose to have a positive attitude and be happier and get more out of life, end that negative situation. An attitude is a strong belief or feeling towards people, things, and situations. If you're stuck in an unpleasant situation that you can't change, having a poor or negative attitude will only make the situation more unpleasant. You can choose to be and learn to either be optimistic or pessimistic. You can choose to have a positive attitude and be happier and get more out of life. The following hints can help you change your attitude. Remember that what you think affects how you feel, and how you feel affects your behavior, human relations, happiness, and performance. People who are optimistic have higher levels of job satisfaction. Consciously try to have and maintain a positive attitude. Realize that there are few, if any, benefits to harboring negative attitudes, such as holding a grudge. Don't have a negative attitude towards people because they look or act differently than you do. You can gain control of your attitudes and change the direction of your life. We become what we think about, or what we think determines what happens to us. It's difficult to change your own attitudes. It's even more difficult to change other people's attitudes, but it can be done. Give employees feedback and treat them fairly. Employees must be made aware of their negative attitudes if they're to change. Making working conditions as pleasant as possible, and make sure employees have all the necessary resources and training to do a good job. Employees tend to respect activities or events followed by positive consequences, and to avoid things followed by negative consequences. Try to keep negative attitudes from developing and spreading. Be a positive role model. If you have a positive attitudes, employees may also. A person's job satisfaction is a set of attitudes towards work. Work is an important part of life, giving us self-worth, and people want to be happy, so naturally people want job satisfaction. Employees who are more satisfied with their jobs are generally better workers. A job satisfaction survey is a process of determining employee attitudes about the job and the work environment. Job satisfaction is part of life satisfaction. Your off the job life also affects your job satisfaction, and in turn, your job satisfaction affects your life satisfaction. Job satisfaction is a continuum from low to high. The definition of job satisfaction identifies an overall attitude towards work, because people usually have positive attitudes about some aspects of work and negative attitudes about other aspects of work. There are a variety of determinants of job satisfaction. Each of these determinants may be of great importance to some people and of little importance to others. Whether you enjoy performing the work itself has a major effect on overall job satisfaction. Your satisfaction with the pay received affects overall job satisfaction, and the rising cost of healthcare, along with retirement benefits, make benefits more important than ever. Whether you're satisfied with personal or company growth and whether the potential for upward mobility exists may affect job satisfaction. Whether you're satisfied with the supervision received affects overall job satisfaction, and the personal relationship between you and your boss also affects job satisfaction. Whenever you have positive human relations with coworkers affects overall job satisfaction. Some people have the attitude that work is fun and interesting, while others do not. Personality associated with work, attitude, and behavior affects job satisfaction. People differ in the ways they prioritize the above determinants of job satisfaction. You can be highly satisfied in some areas and dissatisfied, yet overall have high job satisfaction. Your self concept is your overall attitude about yourself. Self concept can be thought of as being on a continuum from positive to negative or from high to low. If your beliefs and feelings about yourself are positive, you tend to have a high self concept. Your personality is based in part on your self concept. Self concept includes perceptions about several aspects of yourself. You can have a positive self concept and still want to change some things about yourself. Your thoughts and feelings about yourself have greater influence in determining your self concept than does your behavior. You develop your self concept over the years through the messages you receive about yourself from others. Your personal self concept has been strongly influenced by the way others have treated you, the attitudes and expectations others have had of you. Self efficacy is your belief in your capacity to perform a specific situation. Self efficacy affects your effort, persistence, expressed interest, and the difficulties of the goals that you select. Your expectations affect your performance. You will live up to or down to your expectations. If you think you'll be successful, you will be. This expectation phenomenon is often referred to as the self-fulfilling prophecy. The self-fulfilling prophecy occurs when your expectations affect your success or failure. Self-efficacy and the self-fulfilling prophecy go hand in hand. Your self-efficacy becomes your self-fulfilling prophecy. So, you need self-efficacy or confidence and to believe in yourself to put forth the effort needed to succeed at challenging tasks. Attribution is one's perception of the reasons for behavior. When we observe others' behaviors, we do not know the reason for it, so we make a judgment as to why people do the things they do. So, attribution theory is how we perceive the causes of behavior, which in turn affects our subsequent choices and behaviors. For example, if a person calls you a name in a joking way, why did they do it? Are they being mean or kidding around? How do you respond? As you may have heard, it's not good to assume. You're better off asking about the behavior and getting it right than guessing and getting it wrong. You are the ultimate creator of your self concept, and you can improve your self concept even though it's not easy to evaluate yourself and it's even more difficult to change. But it's worth the time and effort to improve your self concept. As a manager, a coach, a parent, a teacher, or a friend, whatever it might be, you can work with others using these ideas to help them develop a more positive self concept. One thing to keep in mind is that you need to be positive and give praise and encouragement. However, real self esteem is based on achievement, not praise for low performance. The following are general guidelines to help you implement in your daily life to improve your self concept. View mistakes and failures as learning experiences to improve. Realize that we all make mistakes. Talk to any successful business person with a positive self concept, and he or she will admit making mistakes. But he or she will tell you that you need to take some risks to be successful. Ability to rebound from disappointments is one of the main reasons people fail. Dwelling on failure and disappointment will only leave a negative effect on your self concept. Control negative behavior and thoughts with self talk. Thoughts are very important because we all think about and we want to determine what happens to us. If you catch yourself having negative thoughts, use self talk with positive affirmations by replacing negative thoughts with beliefs and positive ones. Here's a 3-part action plan for building positive self concept. Step 1: identify your strengths and areas of improvement. Step 2: set short term and long term goals. Before you can get anywhere, you must first determine where you want to go. And step 3: develop a habit plan and implement it. What action will you take to improve your self concept through challenging your thoughts and behavior? To change, we need to develop new habits. A person's values are the things that have worth for or are important to the individual. A value system is a set of standards by which the individual lives. An important life question is, what is of value to you? Take time and identify what's truly important to you both at work and at home. Organizations recruit people with values that match the organizations. To be happy, choose a place that fits your values. Values are developed in much the same way as attitudes. However, values are more stable than attitudes. Values about some things do change, but the process is usually slower than a change in attitude. Society influences our value system. What was considered unacceptable in the past may become commonplace in the future, or vice versa. Values changes over the years are often a major part of what's referred to as the generation gap. Getting to know people and understanding their values can improve human relations. Discussions over values issues rarely lead to changes in others' values. They usually end in arguments. Therefore, you should try to be open minded about others' values and avoid arguments that will only hurt human relations. As related to values, ethics refers to the moral standard of right or wrong behavior. Honesty, no lying, stealing, or cheating is often presented as a minimum moral standard for both society and organizations. Most people understand right and wrong behavior and have a conscience, so why do good people do bad things? Most people aren't simply good or bad. 98% of us will be unethical at times, but just a little. We respond to incentives and can usually be manipulated to behave ethically or unethically if we find the right incentives. The incentive, or reason that we're unethical at times, is usually for personal gain, to avoid getting in trouble, or some people don't believe the rules apply to them. Does ethics pay? Generally, the answer is yes. Our unethical behavior negatively affects our behavior, relationships, happiness, reputation, and performance. One lie usually leads to another, and the truth usually comes out eventually. When it does, it usually hurts relationships. Do you trust dishonest people who lie to you? Individuals are ethical or unethical, not organizations. But individual unethical behavior affects others and organizational reputation and performance. Unethical decisions can have far reaching consequences. It's important to understand how unethical behavior can take hold of you. The first lie is the hardest, and every time after becomes a bit easier. Our memories fade as we repeat unethical behavior. Today, we live in a time of ethical confusion, with relativism saying that there's no absolute truth or right or wrong. This subtly creeps into us as we become and engage in more unethical behavior, especially if we don't get caught. It's easier to be unethical. You probably already realize that because of their personalities, some people have a higher level of ethics than others. Some people are at the point where they don't even realize they're being dishonest and don't see anything wrong with the habit of lying. But don't assume people are just lying. Recall that people perceive the situation differently and have different memories and are subject to bias. Moral development refers to understanding right from wrong and choosing to do the right thing. Unfortunately, doing the right thing is rarely easy. There are three levels of personal moral development. Let's take a look. Although most of us have the ability to reach the third level, only about 20% of us actually do. Most of us behave at the conventional level. What level of moral development have you attained? And how can you improve your moral development level? Situational control also affects behavior. People respond to incentives and can be manipulated to do ethical or unethical things based on a situation. Highly competitive and unsupervised situations increase the odds of unethical behavior. Unethical behavior occurs more often when there's no formal ethics policy or code of ethics and when unethical behavior is not punished. People are also less likely to repeat or report unethical behavior when they perceive the violation as not being serious and when the violator is a friend. When we behave unethically, we usually justify the behavior by rationalizing to ourselves that there's a good reason for the behavior. Justification protects our self concept so that we don't have to feel bad about ourselves. If we're only a little dishonest, we can still feel pretty good about our sense of integrity. Here are some examples of how we justify unethical behavior. Everybody does it. I did it for the good of the company. I was following orders. I'm not as bad as others. And I disregard consequences. We continue our discussion of ethics in this course by providing simple guides that help you make ethical choices. The Golden Rule. Most religions have a variation of the Golden Rule: do unto others as you want them to do unto you. Try to meet the goal of human relations by creating a win-win situation for all stakeholders, the people you interact with. Here's a four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and friendship? And will it be beneficial? Before you act, use an ethical guide to discern if the behavior is ethical or not. Research shows that making quick decisions without using an ethical guide leads to less ethical choices. Using ethical guides helps you to keep honest. Remember that what you think affects your behavior. If you keep thinking about doing something unethical and justifying it, it may give you the temptation to go ahead and do it. Remind yourself that it's unethical and stop thinking about it. All businesses, and especially multinational corporations, need to manage ethics well. Most multinational organizations have a code of ethics, also called codes of conduct, to help employees understand what behavior is and is not ethical. To help ensure ethical behaviors, employees should have ethics training. Top level managers need to support the code and lead by example with ethical behavior. Ethical codes must be enforced, and violators should be punished. A difficult challenge for managers is the fact that different countries have different levels of ethical standards. According to universalism, managers should make the same ethical decisions across countries, whereas relativism calls for decisions to be made based on the ethical standards of a particular country or culture. Although the United States has had the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act that defines illegal behavior, it's considered vague and confusing, so there's often no simple answers to what's ethical and what is not. The increasing concern for global managerial ethics calls for a better understanding through cross natural and cross cultural comparisons and the need for a global mindset. To this end, and getting back to the justification of unethical behavior, researchers have found that the same justifications presented earlier were used globally. The global business world is increasingly emphasizing responsible leadership.